Hello and welcome to the ThruNite channel. So today I want to compare these four flashlights here. On the left we have a ThruNite TC15 version 2. Then we have a ThruNite TC15 version 3. Then we have an Olight. This is the Baton Pro. And on the right here we have a Fenix E30R. I want to compare all four of these lights because they are all what I would consider a large EDC option. Okay, EDC standing for everyday carry. These lights offer a ton of light. They're all over 1,000 lumens. All right, so I would consider that a very high-powered flashlight. Yet they're still small enough to keep in your pocket. All four of these house pocket clips, as well as the two ThruNites come with a belt sheath. If you want to keep your pockets free and clear for other gear, you can carry those on the belt. But they're all relatively small, considering how much power they're actually offering. Now, if I compare these next to each other, lining up all the tail caps very, very closely, you can see the size comparison. All right, the two ThruNites are the largest and about the exact same size. Then the Olight Baton here, the Baton Pro, just a little bit shorter. And then that Fenix E30R is just a little bit shorter than the Olight. Now, all four of these flashlights do have a couple things in common. They all have 6 different modes, although they are slightly different from each other. And they're all running on a single 18650 lithium-ion battery, which is both rechargeable and removable. The fact that you can remove the batteries and replace them completely is a really nice benefit in any flashlight. So if the battery happened to get damaged for some reason, or if you use the light so much it gets to the end of its lifespan, it really extends the life of the flashlight itself when you can replace that battery. So it's an important note that some people are looking for in flashlights, to be able to have a removable rechargeable battery as opposed to an internal rechargeable battery. So real quick, I just want to go over some of the features of these lights, their outputs and price. Of course, price is always a huge factor. So on the left here, starting with the ThruNite TC15 V2, these sell for $59.95, and this has a max output of 2,531 lumens. This one has a Cree XHP 35.2 LED, and as we look at that reflector, you can see it's heavily orange peeled or stippled. All right, so you'll see what that is going to offer as far as how this is throwing once we get outside and do the demo. Next up is the ThruNite TC15 version 3 or V3. This sells for $59.99. This has a max output of 2,403 lumens. All right, zooming in. This light has the same Cree XHP 35.2 LED, and you can see also a very heavily stippled or orange peel reflector. Next up is the Olight Baton Pro. This has a max output of 2,000 lumens. This sells for $89.95. And unfortunately, we have a mystery LED because Olight doesn't like to say exactly what's in there, or at least I can't find it on their website. And last up is the Fenix E30R. This has a max output of 1,600 lumens. All right, coming into the head there. They're using an SST40 LED. All right, you can see the reflector in there. All right, very similar to the Olight in its style. And again, we're going to see how this compares to those two ThruNites as soon as we get outside and see those beam shots. All right, so now I just want to go over the UI or user interface, how to use these lights. First up is the ThruNite TC15 V2. All right, if you do a long press on that side button, we have our moonlight mode, all right, which is the lowest mode. And you can see there's a battery indicator light within the button, so it'll let you know when you need to charge the flashlight. Then just push and hold to cycle through our modes, low, medium, high. All right, you can double click at any point, it goes right to turbo. Again, 2,531 lumens on turbo. It is actually warm, just from this distance, maybe 4 or 5 inches from my hand. Now at this point, I'm going to show the strobe mode. I just wanted to give a quick warning for anyone who might have some kind of problem seeing flashing lights, that you're warning. But to get to strobe, double click to get to your turbo mode, and then double click again to get to strobe. And because this is also a ThruNite, this is actually the 3rd version of this light, it functions identically. So there's no reason to go through those modes. It works just like the V2. Next up, we have the Baton Pro. All right, so long press, we're going to have our moonlight mode. It is a little different than the ThruNite. It's a little bit brighter. I find that other brands that have a moonlight mode tend to be brighter. They just have shorter run times. All right, push it once to turn it on. Same thing, you're going to push and hold. Cycle through our different modes here. Double click for that turbo mode. On this Olight, it's 2000 lumens on the turbo mode. And again, here's your warning for strobe mode, in case that's something that you have a problem with. You're just going to triple click from an off position to get to that strobe. All right, very, very simple. And last up is the Fenix E30R. All right, just like a lot of other Fenix lights, you have to double click to turn it on. All right, it's blinking at me just because I have to charge it. But there it is on. And instead of the ThruNite and the Olight where you're gonna push and hold down, you just do single clicks to swap through the different modes. All right. So you can see low, medium, medium 2, high, and turbo. Now if I push and hold, it'll just shut off. So again, quick warning, if you have a problem with flashing lights, I'm going to be showing the strobe mode here. Just double click to turn it on. Once it's on, to access strobe, you're going to do a long press. Now the light's going to shut off first. If you let go, that's just shutting it off. But if you continue to hold it, it will access the strobe mode, which is right there. Now if I let this go, you'll notice that there are different wavelengths. It goes back and forth from a very, very quick strobe to a little bit of a slower strobe. I know it's very disorientating because the camera can't focus. But I really like flashlight modes, or at least a strobe mode in a flashlight that changes the frequency of the length of how fast or slow that's actually blinking. Because believe it or not, whether it's an animal or a person, you can adapt a little bit to that strobe. If you're using this for, say, self-defense or to distract someone or something, and they look at it long enough, your eyes can adjust a little bit to it. But when the wavelength changes and it's really, really fast, and then a little bit slower, then really fast, it makes it a lot harder for the eyes to adjust. So it's an interesting feature. If you really do value strobe mode, that's the kind of strobe mode that I prefer over one constant speed in which that light blinks. All right, so now we're gonna head outside and get some beam shots to see how these are dispersing that light. All right, so first up we have the ThruNite TC15 V2. All right, so put it right in turbo mode and about 15 feet or so away from the wall here. All right, you can see we have a hot spot in the middle. However, it is obviously creating a lot of spill all around it, so it's really lighting up the whole area. Again, it's a very high output, so even though there is a projection here and a tighter hot spot, it blends in with the spill. All right, so let's go up, and you can see a very distinctive end to our beam. Down, left, and right. All right, next up is the ThruNite TC15 V3. So there's our turbo mode. All right, go up, down, left, and right. Has a very similar throw, just not quite as bright there. All right, next up is our Olight Baton Pro. All right, so now you can see this is throwing light very differently. This has more of an area light. So you notice that there's a softer hot spot. It's not so much actually focused in the middle. It's more spread out on a wider area. All right. And also, if you notice, the end is not so distinctive as I go all the way up here. All right, it just kind of fades out to dark. There's not an actual ring, so to speak. So that's up and down, left, and right. All right, next up is our Fenix E30R. All right. There's our turbo mode. Again, more like the ThruNites in that there is a definitive hot spot, and it's focusing a lot more light in the middle, but obviously it's bright enough to have plenty of spill as well. All right, so let's go up. See more of a distinctive end to that beam. Down, and then left and right. All right, so now I change positions. This way we can reach out a little bit more. These are brighter flashlights. They're very capable of actually throwing the light a lot further than what I was showing on the wall. All right, so first up we have the ThruNite TC15 V2. All right, so you can see how much that's projecting out into the woods there. All right, let's go up, down, left, and right. So plenty of light, a plenty wide beam, as well as a far beam. I would say that the little cluster of trees you see right in front of us is probably about 20-25 feet away. All right, just for a reference in distance. Next up, the ThruNite TC15 V3. All right, same thing. Let's go up, down, left, and right. Same beam pattern to me, just a little bit less output. Next up is the Olight Baton Pro. All right, so now if you notice, we have a lot more light right in front of us, but it doesn't project quite as far. And this is a big difference when you're looking at different flashlight beams, whether you want something that has a lot of spill or a lot of throw. And then there's everything in between with a little of both. In this case, it has less throw, but a lot more spill. So I'll go up. It's almost like you're just shutting the light off. And then down. And then left. And right. So more of an area light for a little bit closer distance. And last up, that Fenix E30R. All right, there's the turbo. Plenty of light output. A good little mix of both spill as well as throw. All right, so we go up and down. Left and right. So there you have it. All four lights are fantastic flashlights. You can see they're all very capable. Again, very high outputs. If you're working a little bit closer with something, if let's say you're using these indoors, I think that the Olight Baton Pro really sets itself apart from the other three in the fact that it's just a wall of light. But because it's a wall of light, you see it doesn't have as much throw, as much capability outside. Whereas both of these ThruNites here have a ton of throw. I noticed that the Fenix, the E30R, has almost the same capability of throw as the ThruNites, but it seems brighter up close. The issue I have with the Fenix is, for some reason, and I found this with other models too, the charge doesn't seem to last as long. Like I do testing on all these lights, and I go through a couple different recharging cycles. But I just always find my Fenix is always dying. I don't think that I'm using it more than the other lights, but maybe that's an outside factor. But still, I mean, a fantastic flashlight, works totally fine. But remember, the price tag on here is $80 compared to $90 and $60 and $60. All right. But again, the Baton Pro, this one really stands out as being different in the fact that it's really just a wall of light with very little hotspot. So I think that's a little bit better if you are using this at closer distances. But if you do want to reach out a little bit further, both the TC15 V2 as well as the V3 are fantastic options and more affordable. But if you like the Fenix and just how it works, its UI, which is very, very different, that's obviously another option for $80. But it is noticeable that up close, even though, again, this has that throw, that you have a lot of extra light up front here. Again, 1600 lumens output, compared to the 2531 lumen output, but this is really pushing those out. Whereas this is pushing a little out, but there's a lot kind of up close. I mean, they're all doing the same job of allowing you to see in a dark area, but they do it a little bit differently. Just fascinating. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. And if you're interested in the giveaways, please be sure to comment on these videos as well as subscribe to the channel.